right. Today we're diving into something kind of controversial, or I guess we should say overused or ignored. I feel like it's one way or the other, and that is cardio.
Yeah, cardio. So if you follow us for a while, then you know that we're not really the like do an hour or a cardio a day type of people. Obviously, we prioritize lifting weights, and we're always going to prioritize that. But that doesn't mean cardio is a negative thing, or it's bad for you, or it's useless. There's actually a lot of benefit to it. You just have to use it the right way, and so that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah, the problem isn't cardio itself, it's how people use it. I think too many people are using it as their main tool for fat loss, and that's where things can kind of go sideways. So, today we're going to break down what cardio is actually good for, why we don't use it for fat loss, when it becomes a liability and not an asset, and then ways to keep it fun, functional, low maintenance, and how to allow it to support your training and not sabotage it. All right, before we get into that, I want to see what's been going on, what's new in your world, any updates you want to share.
Oh yeah, so part of summertime, I spend a little bit more time just kind of browsing, and something popped up the other day, and I've never heard of this. Maybe it's make believe. I didn't even like search it up to make sure it was legit, but there was like this post, and it said heliophilia, and I was like, I've never even heard of this word before. And it said it's a word that means a person who is attracted to sunlight, a desire to stay in the sun. And I was like, that is so me. And it was like, it refers to love or strong attraction to sunlight. It's a term used to describe a fondness for sunshine, a desire to be in the sun. It can be seen an adaptation or a preference for sunlight. And um, I mean, that like describes me perfectly. I was like, this is me. I've never even heard this word before.
Same. But also, my initial thoughts is like, isn't that just being a human?
I think that's being a human in our world. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like a lot of people, I mean, they enjoy being in the sun. Obviously, a beach is a very popular place. People like to get a tan, they like to get out there in the sun. But I don't feel like there's a love for it. I feel like it's, hey, I want to get a little darker skin color, so I'll go out in the sun, but it's hot. I don't like sweating. I don't want to be out there too long, things like that. So for someone to I feel like when I walk out, if I haven't been out in the sunshine and I walk out and it's like nice sun blaring day, I'm like, oh, I just feel better immediately. Like I just feel it like for me, and I feel like there's some people, it's just different. Like we're just affected in a more positive way.
No, yeah, I'm definitely in that same boat as you. I've been deprived this whole last week just because I've been swamped with work and haven't been getting out. But yeah, I'm with you there. But I will say, I did actually buy a red light panel. So I've been
Oh,
super stoked for that.
yeah, I've heard so much good research about that. I've wanted to get one, but I've never pulled the trigger. So tell us about it. How long have you had it?
Just probably like a week or two, so it's very new. So I obviously can't weigh in on all the effects I've seen because I feel like that's one of those things you have to do consistently just to see the benefits over time.
Right.
But like it feels really good in the moment. Like you feel very relaxed, like you feel the warmth of it. So like I get a feeling, but I guess we'll see what sort of effects I get as far as recovery or just skin and stuff like that.
Did you get? Because I know they come in different sizes. So like, what size one did you get?
It's pretty big. Like it hangs on the back of my door. It's not completely a full body, but I feel like it's almost like three quarters of a full body. So like I basically just stand in front of it and it hits everything, maybe like minus my feet, or so it's like pretty big.
Are you doing it like during in the daytime, at night, or because I know there's a lot of different ways to use it. And is there a certain purpose that, like, it's a specific purpose or just overall general health?
Yeah, it was more just general health because, like I said, I haven't dove super deep into all the research and stuff, but like I said, there's a lot of great stuff that's come out on that, and a lot of people speak very highly of it and just all the benefits. I think it's just so good for various different parts of your body and just like skin, recovery, everything. So I'm just like, oh, why not add it to the repertoire? I used to go to a place that has like a red light bed almost, and you just like lay in there, and I felt so good after. And so I'm like, I feel like there's something to that. I'd love to get it done consistently and just see what sort of benefits I get. So that was more of the reasoning there. And as far as the routine, I like this morning, I did it first thing in the morning just because I'm I feel like it's good to optimize that while I'm doing some work in the morning, but usually I've been doing it at night just as I wind down. So it's more of just whenever I have some quiet time to myself to do it. So either in the morning or at night, basically.
All right, yeah, I want to hear about an update in a couple weeks to see because, like I said, I've heard so many good things about this. And for the audience out there, if you don't know much about it, do a little research on it. There's just a lot of different types of benefits as well. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So we'll definitely report back. I expect superhuman powers and superhuman volleyball abilities after using it.
Oh, volleyball powers too. All right, here we go. At the
Or
very
at
least,
least recovery from volleyball.
there you go. A little bit of recovery. I was gonna say maybe there's a little placebo effect too. You get in front of it for 10 minutes, go out there, and you win a championship. You're like, here we go.
Yep. And so you have some wild game on here. Have you been eating wild game or what's up with that?
Oh yeah, so I put that in the notes. So long, and I don't even know if it's still there, but in Houston there was a really cool burger place, and it was unique because they had a lot of different types of burgers on their menu, but it was all wild game, right? So
Mhm.
every time I went in there, I tried something different, and this was back like when no one had bison or ostrich. It was just everyone just had ground beef, whatever. And so I'd go in there and I'd try something new. Yeah, so I had like an elk burger, an ostrich burger, a bison burger, a kangaroo burger, things like that. And it was like crazy meats, and I loved it. It was so much fun. There wasn't really anything around here, and it's just kind of rare, right? And the other day I was in Earth Fair, which is a store. Are you familiar with Earth Fair? I don't know if
No.
that's but it's similar to like Whole Foods or Sprouts or something like that. And I was looking at there's a brand that I like, and I was looking at like their bison, and they have elk, and I've got an elk there, and I noticed a different brand next to it, and they had ground kangaroo meat, and I was like, oh, I gotta get some, man, I love this stuff. So I brought it home and made some burgers with it, and no one else would eat it. My girls were like, Dad, that's disgusting. That's so sad. I was like, I mean, apparently, correct me wrong, Australians, but apparently they're like cows over there in Australia. They're just like everywhere, and I think they're even raised for meat, stuff like that. But and I told my girls is that I've seen videos of them like putting dogs in a chokehold and trying to beat them up. So because my girls are big dog lovers, so
Yeah.
but anyway, so yeah, it was so. I made kangaroo burgers, and of course they mixed it a little bit with the ground beef, but it was only like 3 or 4%, but it was so good, such a different taste. I loved it, and so I looked up the company, and it has all kinds of stuff on their website. They had camel meat and yak meat and all kinds of different ducks and alligator, which I've had before too,
Oh.
all kinds of different things. And so I definitely want to reach out and try some different meats, but I don't know. I just want to talk about it because I love. It's just fun. It's unique, and they all taste just a little bit different. And like this kangaroo was unbelievably lean. It was like for 4 ounces, I think it was like 24 grams of protein, like 1 gram of fat. I mean, it was phenomenal.
What does it
So
taste like compared to ground beef?
I mean, I do a horrible job at describing stuff like that, but it's just obviously a little bit gamier.
Hmm.
And you can taste it. If you had it next to just a regular little burger, you'd be able to tell a little bit of difference. But I mean, I just use the regular spices that I normally would for a burger, and it just gives it a little bit of uniqueness. And it was so good, so fantastic. So I'm out there looking for different types of ground beef and stuff like that. So my brother-in-law is a big hunter, and I sent him that website, and he was like, "Yeah, I've had all that except for camel and yak." And I was like, "Next time we're together, let's order some and let's grill out. It'd be so much fun."
That's so funny. Yeah, those are some weird, like very unique ones.
Have you had any of those?
Not any of those ones. Like I've had a lot of elk. I've My dad hunts as well, so I used to. That's basically what I would live off of when I was back in Arizona. And then one of my clients, shout out to Sean, he sent me some wild game from his hunting as well. So I feel like wild game is just absolutely elite. It's just anabolic. Me and Sean always joke around about that. It's just like that is the key to all the gains right there.
Yeah, I need to talk to Sean about that. I forgot that he was a big, yeah. That's cool. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about, and I really enjoy it. And it's part of the experience too, you know.
Mhm.
And it's also just fun to be able to say, hey, what'd you have for dinner last night? Oh, I had kangaroo burgers.
Right. For real. Yeah, and I had some clients who were in Australia and they would just send me random pictures of kangaroos just like in their backyard and shit. So I really do think it is the kind of like that you're explaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're interesting animals, but I've also heard that they're just like mean dudes, and they're like powerful and strong, and they'll just take you down, man.
I've seen some jacked ones too.
Yes, they also lift. They lift
Yeah.
weights. They don't do much cardio, but
Yeah, there is a local butcher here downtown St. Pete that has a bunch of I believe some of these meats or there's like a shop that has a bunch of like meats basically. I feel like I need to go check it out now. I've been inspired.
yeah, go check it out. Tell us what you think or what you find, and if you try anything.
Yeah, I feel like I struggle with getting out. Like I find my meals that I like and I just stick to them. I don't want to veer off the routine. So it's just yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I get that. But again, like, if I can switch it out, I mean, ground chicken is so lean, there we go. My macros, switch it out. It's something totally different taste wise. And again, it just makes it more interesting, makes it more fun, something to look forward to. And it just, like, I just enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our conversation on cardio, and let's talk about our experience with cardio.
Yeah, so I haven't done cardio or like focused cardio probably since I was in high school. I obviously I played volleyball, I did sports in high school, and then in my initial stages of getting into the gym, that's when I did cardio. Basically, when I first started in the gym, I had no idea how to lift and I didn't care to, so I would just go to the gym and run on the treadmill or do the stairs for a while or bike. So I was one of those people that just did a ton of cardio. That's just because all I knew, just coming out of sports and building endurance. So that's what I used to do, and I feel like I kind of use that as punishment. I would definitely go in and overdo it. I feel like a lot of people can tend to do with cardio, so I would just go into the gym, run for hours, kind of punish myself. And that's how I started in the gym before I got into lifting and kind of made that transition. I think I ultimately stopped with running and cardio in general just because I had really bad chronic back pain and I found that the running just tended to make that worse. So that's when I sort of made that transition to lifting. And then obviously I fell in love with lifting and all the benefits from that and just physically, mentally, emotionally, and just with my confidence. And so that's when I just went all in. I said, screw cardio, never going back to that, and just went full force into lifting. And so I basically swore that off until this year, essentially the first time I'd say I implement cardio was just through volleyball. And that was very humbling to say the least. Right? Like now I'm so adapted, like it's not taxing at all endurance wise, but the first couple times playing, especially playing doubles, it is a lot, especially just running in sand, kind of like trying to like go 0 to 100, chasing down balls and stuff. So it was a lot, and I definitely realized I had not trained endurance or just any sort of cardio for a bit. But like I said, I've kind of built that back up through playing volleyball. And then recently, I'm sure, as many people have seen, joined a run club and have been running here and there.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought for sure someone had taken over your like social media account or something. I don't even know this person.
yeah, all my friends text me. They're like, "Yo, are you good?" They were actually concerned for me. Yeah, it was funny. But yeah,
So why did you join did you do this for the volleyball or combination of volleyball, something else, or what was the reasoning behind that?
purely just for the community aspect. I just wanted to get more involved now that I live here in St. Pete, and there's a lot of groups and communities. And so the one in particular that I joined was like a faith-based run club, and so just the community was amazing. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go check it out. And you of course can walk, like people don't care, but I was like, you know what? Let's just fuck around and try it. Like, let's just run, see what happens. I don't know. So I just feel like it would be a good new challenge for me mentally and physically, just because it's not something I've done in a while. So I was like, all right, I'll just give it a shot and try. And I feel like it's kind of fun being able to add in new things and new challenging things because I feel like training wise, like I have a good base with everything. And so this is something that I haven't experienced in a while. So I'm like, all right, it's going to be a good new challenge. So I'm just adding it back in once or twice a week. Just going to slowly try to improve my run times. Nothing crazy. Like I'm not doing crazy distances or anything like that. It's just kind of more casual, but also making it competitive with myself and just allowing myself to get immersed in the community and to challenge myself in a new way, basically.
Yeah, that's fun. That's an exciting adventure, right?
Yeah, it is. I've been enjoying it. I was very surprised that the first one I did, I'm like, that was actually fun. Like I enjoyed it. I was blasting some music, just like it helps too. I go for sunrise and I'm like running by the water, so vibes are immaculate. It's beautiful out, so it's just a good time. I really enjoy it. It's a good little morning ritual, and like I said, the community there is so great. At the park I run, like I said, it's on the water. Sunrise is coming up, and there's so many people out there walking. There's like a group doing fitness, so there's everyone. The community there is really great too, even if I go in on my own. So that piece is nice. But I will say one interesting thing that I noticed is my endurance is really solid just from playing volleyball. Like I said, it was humbling in the beginning, but since I've been playing for so long, I have a really good base. And I don't even know what a good mile time is, to be honest. And then I showed my friends, they're like, oh, that's pretty good. Like for your first time running in 10 years. I'm like, oh, is it? I don't know. So it's just cool to see that carryover when like you train in the gym. I've been doing sauna too, which I know it can improve endurance. I don't know the exact how that translates over into like running, but clearly there's a lot of carryover from the activities I have been doing to like give me a decent base in that, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. So do you have a time now that you're trying to reach, or you're still just kind of like I'm not even gonna worry about that. Just get out there and have fun.
Yeah, I'm not worrying about that. It's more of just I kind of just want to beat what I did the last week, just kind of like slowly shave down time, but I don't have a set target right now. Maybe I will in the future, but it's more of just for that fun. And I'm also trying to make sure that I don't overdo it and push my body too hard because I already have been doing a lot of stuff and been struggling with recovery. So I'm just trying to find that right balance with the volleyball, with the running, with lifting, all the things. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, that's fun. I think it's fun to do things like that, especially if it's not just for like the running, like you said, like the social aspect, and
Mhm.
you're out there in nature, and of course, anytime you're by water, like I feel that like that makes you do more things that you want, things like
Yeah.
that. So that's really cool.
Yeah. How about you? What is your experience with the cardio?
Well, so obviously, I did sports as a kid, and so I know I was always like outside doing everything. But I mean, I really don't feel like I even knew what that word was until college. No one really talked about cardio, and I definitely didn't think about it or search it out. And in college, I didn't. I felt like almost like okay, so. I guess in college, there was a time where it was like if you wanted to get stronger, you were in the gym, right, which was primarily men. And if you were, if you wanted to get a little bit leaner, then you did cardio, which was primarily, females, right? And so it's like, well, if you wanted to be a little more shredded, then you probably had to do some cardio a few times a week. And so I did that without, really thinking about it much. And of course I did intramurals and I did all kinds of other things. So I was super active. And again, where all the girls were doing the cardio stuff. So that's where you'd want to, be. But yeah, it was like, and I didn't even consider walking cardio. I would love to have had some kind of tracker back then, especially like when you lived on campus and you had to walk like from one side of the campus to the other side. And I mean, I probably had tens of thousands of steps. I'd love to have seen that, but I would have never considered that cardio. And if anyone said, "Oh, I don't do cardio, I walk," I would probably laughed at them, And now, of course, we know I was way wrong, and that's because now it's my preferred form of cardio. But and then there was a period where I kind of just for fun and competitiveness with my own self, I'd get out there and run some, and of course, like I'm a little bit so if I'm going to get out there and run, I'm going to try to get some times, right? So eventually, every week I would try to push that time, and so I try to get under 8 minutes, then I try to get under 7 minutes, then I try to get to six, and stuff like that, and so there was a time when I did that, and it was also a combination of like, oh, I could do it like early in the morning, get out there in the sun, get a little nature combo as well. And then there was also a couple of years where I did a few 5Ks, and I wouldn't like train hardcore to do better on it, but if I was like, oh, I'm going to do another one, then I would try to push myself a little bit more to try to get a little bit better time on that, which It's funny because I think I did just as well non-training than when I actually tried to train pretty much same time. So I'm not a big endurance guy. So my times are never impressive. But and now I really just focus on my cardio is like low impact walking, just try to get as many steps as possible.
Yeah. What was your fastest mile time? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I want to say I was getting in the sixes, or at
Mm.
least low six. I'm almost positive, but yeah, if I just ran out there right now, I mean, it would probably be closer to, I don't know, seven-ish, eight-ish, probably type of
Yeah.
thing. But I did. This was kind of funny. One time I signed up for a 5K and I pulled my hamstring like a few weeks before, and I still ran the 5K with a pulled hamstring, and I did okay. And then the next year, I was going to do the same race. I was like, oh, I'm going to crush my time. And I think I beat it by like 20 seconds. I was like, that is ridiculous. And I even like train harder for it and everything. It's just, I don't know. And it was weird, like something with, because I don't know if it was like the pain of my hamstring, like overtook any pain of having to run. I just kept, it hurt, and that's all I could focus on. So I just kept going. I didn't think about, I don't know. It was a weird experience, but it was also kind of fun. So
That's funny. Well, yeah, so when it comes to cardio, I think we want to make this clear is it's not the enemy. It's not bad. I think both of us have tended to stay away from a lot of focused cardio. Like I said, I got into running, but I've sworn it off for a decade. But that's not to say it's bad. And we're not telling you to avoid it altogether. I think it has a lot of great benefits. It's something that we encourage our clients to include in their routine, but when it makes sense. And so some of the benefits do include heart health. Obviously, cardio is going to improve your cardiovascular function, it's going to lower blood pressure, strengthen your heart muscle. And so overall, that's just helping with long-term health and not for fat loss, though. And then just recovery, some low intensity cardio like walking or cycling can increase blood flow and just help reduce soreness between lifting sessions. I think walking is great. I always tell clients, like, hey, just get out, get some steps. That's going to help with recovery as opposed to just sitting still and sitting lifeless on the couch. So we got to move to help with recovery. Also, stress reduction, that can be a good one, especially steady state like zone 2 can help lower your cortisol levels and help regulate your nervous system, especially when paired with sleep, nutrition, and everything. I had a client who wanted to pick back up cardio too. And he's like, it just gets me into such a good mental state. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, if that's something that you really enjoy and it gets you into that mindset, absolutely. Like, we want to do that, especially in crazy, busy, stressful seasons of life. So there's that piece as well.
well,
And
I
then,
think that's a good point. Sorry, I think that's a good point too, because if a client came to us and said, "Hey, I love to do this type of cardio," we're not going to say don't do that anymore. We're going to say, "Okay, great, you keep doing it. If you love to do that, that is what you want to do. Go for it." So I just want to kind of clarify that as well. If you just absolutely love doing something, even if you're like, "Hey, I know it's not for the benefit of losing weight, but I just absolutely love it," then yeah, you should keep doing that.
100%. Yeah, we have a lot of clients or a handful of clients that, have cardio structured into their actual programming to have it balanced with everything else that they're doing. And then some people are just like, we're just focusing on steps. So yeah, it all depends on what you enjoy, what your goals are. And then obviously it helps to improve endurance, stamina. Being strong is great, but also we want to have the capacity to move for longer without getting gassed out or out of breath, going up and down stairs, that type of stuff. So we want to have that endurance and stamina just for daily life. And then, of course, just energy. I feel like the more conditioned you are, the more oxygen you deliver to your tissues, and that means better energy for everyday life and not just workouts. So, bottom line with all that is it's not the foundation. If you're trying to build real results, whether it's fat loss, strength, energy, confidence, cardio should support your training, but not necessarily be the star of the show.
Yeah, and most of our clients are really busy professionals or parents or basically people just juggling like a full plate, a full life, right? And they need the most effective, time efficient approach. And that's going to be strength training. And we've talked about this before. Lifting is what drives that body recomposition. It's going to build lean muscle, and that's going to increase your metabolism, and it's going to improve insulin sensitivity, strengthens bones. It's going to build confidence, build discipline, and that's going to give you the results that last. That's going to give you the results that can be sustainable forever. But cardio can be part of that process also. It should never replace resistance training. So think about it. You kind of mentioned this in the foundation, right? So think about it like, lifting is kind of like the house, like the foundation of where you're going to live, and then cardio is the kind of the decor, right? Great for longevity, heart, brain health. You've already talked about all that. Essential for fat loss, not necessarily on its own, not long term. One thing you had mentioned earlier about your own experience is now you're starting to run. That's a time where you might see some fat loss is when you build it in as part of your program. It's kind of strategically, but just in general, it's a great thing. It's just not used for what people usually think it's useful for, and that's fat loss.
Yeah, because I feel like that's where a lot of people's mind initially goes to. Like, oh, I need to lose weight. I need to go get on the treadmill. I need to do a bunch of cardio. And it just isn't the way. I think if you're using cardio as your primary strategy to lose fat and lose weight, you're kind of just setting yourself up for frustration and failure down the road. Because, like you said, you may see some progress at first. Obviously, if you're moving, if you're burning more calories, that's going to put you in a deficit. The scale might drop a little bit, but likely that's going to be some water, some inflammation, and sometimes some muscle if you're not fueling and training right. But the thing that happens with cardio is you plateau pretty fast, and because your body adapts very quickly to that type of stimulus. So you have to add more, and then more, and then more to get the same amount of calorie burn, the same amount of results out of that until you're spending a lot of time on the treadmill, like hours a day, or like I used to do when I went to the gym. And then you don't see the results that you want when it comes to the scale or your body changing.
Yeah, that's funny because I was talking to this guy at the gym this morning, and we were having this exact conversation. He was like, I tell you, I'm doing these things, and I see some results, and then I hit this like plateau, and then I try to do something different, and all the things he was telling me were great cardio activities, like rucking and swimming and things like that. And I said, those are all awesome cardio activities, and they're great for all the benefits that we discussed earlier. But I said, if you're using that to lose weight, that's where you're having a problem, right? Because your body's adapting so quickly to that. And so the more cardio you do, the more efficient your body becomes. You might, the first time you ever get on there, you might burn, let's say 150 calories, something like that. Within a week or two, now your body's burning like 50 calories. You just burn fewer calories doing the same activity over and over again. And it gets to a point where you are working harder and harder, and you're getting less, back over time. Your return on investment is not good.
Mm-hmm.
And so, your recovery tanks, you're constantly fatigued. Your strength training can suffer, depending on how far you push that. And sometimes your sleep can take a hit because then what ends up happening is people will say, okay, well, I ran for an hour and I was seeing some great results, but now I'm not. Maybe I should run for 2 hours, or maybe I should run for 8 miles, and then I'll run for 10 miles. And they just keep pushing themselves, and you get hungrier, and cortisol spikes. There's just a lot of things kind of go crazy, right? And all that. It just makes it harder to stick to a really good nutrition plan, which is what's going to actually drive that fat loss in the first place. So you're doing tons of cardio, you're eating more because you're starving, you're not recovering well, you're losing muscle, you're getting frustrated, and you're burning like maybe a couple hundred calories.
Yeah. Fat loss doesn't happen from cardio, it happens from lifting weights consistently, focusing on building up your metabolism through that, making sure that we're eating in a slight calorie deficit and just retaining as much muscle as possible to, again, keep that metabolism high. I feel like cardio can be a good side dish. It can round things out, but it's not like the full course meal that we want to rely on. If you rely on it to carry the whole thing, you're never going to be full or satisfied or really consistent.
Yeah, and then we kind of mentioned this. The next thing we're talking about is just kind of the more is better trap that people get into, and like I said, they'll hit a plateau, and instead of adjusting other things like their food or their lifting intensity or the recovery, they just add more cardio. And it's like we said, it's 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden it becomes 60, and then maybe I should do fasted morning cardio before work, or maybe I need to walk laps in the parking lot. They're obsessed by hitting like a super high step count, and it becomes kind of like an obsession, right? A compulsion, and not really like a strategy that's going to work for them.
Yeah, and it kind of ties into what you were saying earlier, is then people get super tired and burnt out. They feel like they're doing everything right, but they're not seeing progress that they want. And that can be very frustrating too. You can also tend to see muscle loss, strength kind of going backwards, constantly sore and inflamed, and just feel like you can't eat enough without gaining weight. And so at that point, it's not really helping, it's hurting. Basically, more cardio doesn't necessarily equal more results. In fact, doing too much can sort of slow down your progress and kind of get you to that point where you're like, oh, I'm putting in all this work, but nothing's happening. And that's very frustrating. Obviously, if you're putting in work in the gym or putting in effort with whatever you're doing, you want to be able to see a good outcome from it. I feel like that's where a lot of people get stuck in that on-off cycles. They go hard, and then they don't see results, and so then of course they aren't like motivated to keep going, because of course if you're putting in all this work and not getting anything, like why would you want to keep going? So that basically that's kind of where things, where I see a red flag. Basically it's not discipline, like it's a red flag, and so we want to reassess the plan and just make sure we have a good balanced plan to be able to see that consistent progress and have the work that you're putting in actually get the result that you want.
Yeah, we've all seen that person, and I feel really bad for this person. But you see the person that comes in. We've talked about consistency, right, and how important that is, and it is extremely important. But we'll see that person that is in there every day, 5 or 6 days a week, same time, and they're on that stairmaster, they're on their elliptical, and they're hitting it hard. The intensity is there, and they do the same thing every day, and they haven't changed in years. Like we said, it's our body adapts to it very quickly. And so by then it's like, hey, you know what? Go for it. Wear me out. I've got this. I'm not going to adjust. I don't have to do much. And it's super frustrating and eventually that person's going to quit, right? And they're going to be like, I did everything I needed to. I was in there for hours on end, super consistent, and it just didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing we were talking about too is kind of a way to make cardio fun is, or a way to view it is just keeping that athlete alive in you. I feel like a lot of people played sports when they were younger, or if you didn't, like we all want to have some level of athleticism and be able to show up for certain things in our life, whether that's keeping up with your kids or getting back into a sport or something. And so that's where cardio can be cool. It's not all about running super long distances. It's more of just your capacity, getting into movement, building that athleticism back, whether that is with short sprints or intervals or just some sort of conditioning. I feel like that helps keep you alive, mobile, able, capable, and just feeling sharp.
Yeah, and that's where I get excited when I think about cardio. Is just what you said, the athlete in people, and we as we get older and we get busier, especially if we were good athletes, we kind of fade away from that kind of stuff, and so to get back into it, whether you're playing pickleball or you're going swimming or you're going for bike run, whatever it may be, feeling like you're that athlete again. And I think it's really good, just kind of a side note in terms of mobility, because a lot of our workouts are just one plane and kind of all forward. And so if you're out there, even if it's playing pickleball or you're playing tennis or golf or whatever it may be, you're moving in different planes, things like that. It's so much better for you, just in general. So I love that viewpoint, looking at like, okay, I still want to keep the athlete in me and go from there. So, if you used to play sports, you can reconnect with that version of you, and pushing sleds, doing circuits, picking up basketball again, playing flag football. And again, the idea is not because, oh, I need to burn some more calories, but I want to feel alive again. I want to feel like an athlete again. I want to be competitive. I want to have fun.
Yeah, I can definitely contest to that with getting back into volleyball. Yeah, it just lights something up. I can't explain it. I know all my friends experience this too. We always joke around about like we are full on addicted and obsessed with volleyball. Like we play an absurd amount. My friend is always sending me these like memes on Instagram of just like absurd shit with how we operate when it comes to volleyball. But it is funny just because it really does light something up. It is good to have that competition, see growth in that area, and then also just feel and perform in a different way. Like you said, it's a little bit different than training just in the gym and doing our normal like main lifts that we're doing. So it is a gives you a different feeling for sure.
Well, it challenges your mind and your body in a completely different way.
It's addicting to see that growth, like anything else. Yeah.
It really is, yeah.
Or maybe I have a problem. Maybe a
No,
little bit of both.
maybe just a little bit. No, we're good. All right. So yeah, so cardio again, it's a part of being a well-rounded human being, right? And we don't want to run out of gas walking upstairs. We don't want to be a person who can lift up the house, but can't even jog to catch a flight, right?
Yeah, we just want that baseline capacity. Like, we don't need to be a runner, but you do need to be able to move. And cardio doesn't have to dominate your life. Again, if you want to, great. If that's something you enjoy, there's always a room for that. But we just want to find a way to fit it in that's going to be sustainable and supportive for you and your goals. One other thing too is I feel like a lot of people forget that running in particular or any sort of cardio, there's a technique to it. Like we go into the gym with proper form and technique, and we really emphasize that, especially with clients. Like we're always taking time to build that right foundation, make sure we have the proper form, control, the movement pattern down. Kind of same thing comes to cardio and running. I think a lot of people go into running and they're like, oh, I'm just gonna go lose weight, I'm gonna go run. And then if they have the wrong shoes or bad form, it can cause more issues and cause injuries and then kind of set them back even further.
Yeah, I often think we look at it as being something easy, right? Like because we know how to walk, we walk every day, and so it's just stepping up a little bit. And you're right. I think if you took just the average person who hasn't lifted in a while and said, "Hey, go do a squat," they're gonna be like, "Well, show me how to do a squat. I'm not quite sure I'm gonna do this right. I want to watch a video. I want you to show me how." They're gonna they're gonna probably have a lot of anxiety over it. But if they're like, "Oh man, I want to go for a run," they're just gonna walk out their house and start running. And you're right, especially if you haven't been running in a long time. You if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right? So our body kind of forgets, and so there is a skill to it, and a lot of people will get hurt as well because they just get out there and just start running. And like you said, there's a lot of different factors involved with that, but um,
Yeah, and that's not just to deter people from going out and running. It's just make sure that we're approaching it safely, doing some proper priming, make sure you understand the proper form, have the right type of shoes. It's like it's not just something you can go in and do. I mean, like you could, but like you said, there's a lot of risk when it comes to that. So we don't recommend that. Just approach it safely, properly, like you would with any other type of training. And I think that's something I was really mindful of as I was getting back into it because I was nervous. I'm like, all right, I haven't ran in 10 years. I want to make sure I'm doing this safely. So I showed up early. I did some stretching, did some little warm up, and then I just started very slow and just paced myself and just made sure I was listening to my body and not overdoing it. So just be in tune with that type of stuff. Approach it from a safe perspective, and you'll be good.
yeah, we talked about having fun with it too. This just reminded me of something. As I get older, it's kind of important just for my own fun with my kids in school to be able to race them and beat them. And that's one thing that because they always want to race me, and they think just because I'm older, I'm an adult, they think they're just going to smoke me, and I always win, and I always beat them, and so I don't want to get to the point where I can't win. I don't want to get to the point where these kids are beating me. I mean, if that ever happens, I might just hang it all up. It's
Valid. Very important goal there. I feel like I talk to a lot of people who say that too. Like they just want to be able to keep up with their kids, make sure that they can show them what's up, maintain that as much as possible.
yeah, and make it fun. So, and we've talked about too. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, and just some different things you can go on. Maybe you're like, well, I walk a lot still. I want to challenge myself a little more. We can go on incline, right? Put the treadmill on incline, or go for a hike, or up a mountain, or a steep hill, or something like that, or go for bike rides and challenge yourself. Same type of thing there. You can do circuit of body weight movement. Sometimes I'll do that to get some cardio in. Like once every now and then, I'll put together 3 or 4 exercises in a row, and I'll just hit them all together, and rest when I'm done with all that. And that kind of workout's much better for cardio benefits. And so I'll do that every now and then just for that. Like we said, hiking, pickleball, volleyball, swimming. There's all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be oh, I don't like this, I don't enjoy this, but I have to do cardio, or I'm not into running, but I feel like I have to. Just it's something that you want to get your heart rate up and just keeps you moving. And going back to kids, chasing kids around all the time, especially if you have little kids, go out and jump on the trampoline, or go out and play tag. Just run around and have those kids chase you around. You'll be worn out. And then you'll have so much fun. It'll be such a good bonding experience with them as well.
I love that. I think that's so important. Have fun with it. Seriously. It doesn't need, if you want to build endurance, if you want to just be a good, solid, healthy human being and build health and longevity, just have fun with it. Do that type of stuff. Do the stuff that actually fits into your life as opposed to just going out and running if that's not something you enjoy. So, yeah, just make it fun. There's lots of different options out there,
Sometimes we just need to be more kid-like and have fun with
right?
that, and you'll get your cardio in.
For real. So, to wrap it up, we don't typically program a ton of cardio for most people. I think a majority of our clients is a lot of focus on lifting, like we talked about, focusing on getting our steps and supplementing stuff here and there with some activity, some sports, whatever they want to do, whatever's aligned with their goals. Just because it's not the needle mover. And when it's overdone, it can backfire, like we were talking about. But when it's used the right way, it can keep you sharp, athletic, energized. So, it's just having that right balance.
Yeah, it's not the star of the team, right? But it definitely plays a good role and deserves a spot on the roster. So if you've been skipping cardio completely or just relying on it way too much, maybe this is your sign to rethink it and come up with a new strategy.
Yep. And I'll keep sharing my running journey. I'm sure everyone will get sick of it. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, as always, if you guys want help building a fitness routine that's actually sustainable, lifting focused, lifestyle based, and built around your goals, come join us inside our private school community. It's free to join, give you all the tools, structure, and support to make it stick. And we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you next week.